Hello everyone, Sarah here. Thank you so much for joining me for a super sponsor hop with Kendra's Card Challenge featuring Crafty Stamp Co. I am using the stamp set Kittens and Kisses. This is available pre-order right now, and you get a sale price if you pre-order it. It's not shipping until February 14th, but you do get a discount if you pre-order it. And it's called Kittens and Kisses, and they're just very adorable, simple little images. And what I've done is I've colored them with very simple shading and color. So I just focus on the red gray, the warm gray, there's a little bit of cool gray too, and pinks and reds, and a little bit of a blush on the cheeks. So keeping it very cute and very simple, because what I've done off camera is I've converted the whole Kendra Card Challenge into square Valentine favors. And I don't usually give out Valentine favors, but I just love creating them. So off camera, I did all the work, and I created each sketch using these little cute images as little party or Valentine favors that you could give out. And it's actually not that hard to do. And I'll go through the different steps to make these. And I will try to make 3 of them. I will probably go through the steps of making one. We'll see where it goes. But I will finish. I'll show all 15 when we're done. And you can see all the different cute little setups you can do with these images. There's lots of them. They're very quick to color and a lot of fun and full of cuteness. And of course, in the backgrounds, this is the paper from Stamp & Co. called Chocolate and Roses. And you can see there's some chocolates right there, and there's some roses right here. So there we go. And here you can see all the pattern paper has been cut. I did make each piece of paper 3 by 3 instead of 6 by 6, so that actually saved me on some paper because I could actually create more of these. But like I said, I will show you how I came up with all this so that you can recreate it, and technically you could do this with all the Kendra Card Challenge sketches of previous challenges, I should say. So let me just get started. Okay, so what we're going to do is start off with the card base. Now, the card size that I selected was 2 3/4 because I can fit quite a few of those on the page. So what I will do first, because I only have a small trimmer here, is I'm just going to cut this in half by 2.5. Sorry, by 5.5 inches, just so that's easy to work with. Now I know I can fit 3 on here, so we're going to start off with the first one, and that's 2 3/4. And then there is your first card base. And then we'll just do that again, 2 3/4 and 2 3/4. And you're just left off with this little teeny piece there. So there are the 3, and then we'll do the exact same thing for the other side. But I only need 3 card pieces because I only have 3 sketches left. But essentially, you do the exact same thing and you get 6 card bases per sheet. So that will give you enough, plus you'll have extra in case you make any mistakes. Okay, so we have 3 card bases here. Okay, so there's a little math here, and I'm going to explain it, but I'm going to give you all the measurements anyways, so you don't need to think about it too much. It's just if you want to reuse this. So the reason I did 2 3/4 is because it's quite easy math to convert. So you got to start with, we know that the sketches that are provided are 4 1/4 by 5.5. So that's an A2 size. This is what all Kendra Card Challenges are based on. But I am going to be doing a square card, which is 2 3/4 inches, height and width. Now, to scale down the card, the problem is this is not the same ratio as this one. This is a square and that one is your rectangle. You can't scale them perfectly. So what we do is we take the largest number and work with that. Okay? And to find what the scale ratio is, what the new measurement's going to be, because what we have to find is that numerical value that you multiply all these widths by, and that'll give you the new width. So to do that is you just take your 2 by 3/4 and you divide that by 5.5. Now just use a calculator. So that would be 275 divided by 5 and 50. And what that will give you is a 1/2 inch. Unfortunately, I don't have a calculator or my phone with me because my phone's recording, so I can't show you, but if you did that in a calculator, you'll get 1/2 inch, which is 0.5. So this is the more tricky part, but essentially what we are doing is just trying to find that scale factor that will take your sketch from the biggest number to the smallest number. And once again, the reason we chose the larger number is because we want to make sure that the sketch is as big as possible on the square card. If we chose the smallest number, then the sketches would be much smaller. Okay? So now that I have this number, so our scale factor is 0.5. So what I can do is now multiply that by every measurement. So earlier I said I had a piece of paper that was 6 by 6. Well, if you multiply 6 by 0.5, you get 3 inches. So that is why all my pattern paper was cut down to 3 by 3s. I hope that makes sense. So essentially at this point, all we need to know is this scale factor. Okay? Now I've already done this off camera as well because I wanted to know what all my measurements were before I cut it, but this is how it works. So the largest number that we have is 5.5, which is an A2 size card, and we know that equals 2 3/4 because we've scaled it down. And if you take your calculator and you go 5.5 times 0.5, you will get 2 3/4. So I did this for all the measurements down to 1/4 because I want to know what each one is. And I'm not going to do this all on camera. I'll just skip through that. But pretty much what you're going to do is you're going to then say, well, what is 5 1/4 times 0.5? And if you take your calculator, you'll realize that is 2 5/8. And then you say, well, what is 5 inches times 0.5? And that would give you 2.5 inches. These are the numbers you're going to use to cut your guide. So I'll just fill this in and then I'll show you. Okay, so there's all the numbers, and you don't need to know all of these. It's just a great way to reference when you're looking at a sketch. So for example, if you are looking at sketch number 8 and it's saying you need a 3 by 4 inch rectangle, well, a 3 by 4 inch rectangle in the new sketch would be 1.5 by 2. So that's how this is used as a nice reference. And the easiest way to remember this using the sketch is that every number is just divided in half. And that's how you get these numbers. So having a nice reference makes it easier and quicker to find your measurements. So put that aside, and we'll start with sketch number 13. And so I have all the pieces already cut out, and I've created the matte layers, and so I'm just going to start putting this together. And as I'm doing that, I'll just explain the little things to take in consideration while I'm doing this. So you know that sketch 13, or all these sketches technically, are A2 size, but because I am doing a square card, I'm going to manipulate the sketches in such a way that I'll still have that square proportional design. So there we go. As you can see, when I do my matte layer on this white pattern paper, I'm only doing the sides and not the top of it, because the card sketch has already reached its max in height. So then I'll just expand on the width. So I'll do the same thing with the pink. And now I have my mattes and my design proportionate to that square. And you really only need to worry about that if you want to keep it proportionate, just on the outside layers. And that's why the center here is still the same as what the sketch is. I didn't make that into a square itself. The final part of the sketch, I'm following it very closely, other than turning it on its axis, is adding my elements. And I have this really cute kittens couple here. Just totally in love. And to emphasize that love, I'm going to add the little red hearts above them. I am adding foam tape to all this just to give it a little bit of dimension. And that pretty much finishes this, our Valentine favor, with just a simple little design. And so there you go. I just flipped it and there you go. So let's move on to card number 14. This one, once again, this one's a little bit different because the strips themselves are not the full width of the sketch. What I mean by that is, if you remember, we took the largest width, which is 5.5. Well, this one is only 4.25, so they never reach the full width. So what I did was I decided to stagger the strips to kind of fill in that square. So I'm not going to work with a matte layer. I'm going to give the illusion with the staggered up and down strips. Also, I did this because the image I'm using is of a bathtub, the kitten's having a little fun in the bath. And this style kind of makes me feel like tiles in a bathroom. So I'm playing around with the different styles, plus giving that illusion that it is filling up this square card while still sticking to the pieces that are in the sketch. So if you look at the sketch, which is right there in the corner there, you can see that they go the full width. Now I could have created a matte layer that would have been the exact width, and then I could have had all my strips perfectly aligned. And then if you wanted to, you could add another matte layer to extend the width of it so that you have this the square. But I figured this looked really nice. It was elegant, it was simple, it wasn't adding too many layers, and I think it turned out quite nicely. Any large shape is that square that I put in there because I don't need a large square, or a large shape in this case. I guess large would be relative to the size of the card. And then I'm just going to prop that up with some foam tape. I have my little conversational hearts there. I'll put that and make it look like they're chatting about loving each other while taking a fun bubble bath. It's a very interesting Valentine favor, but I think it's absolutely adorable. I love this little stamp set. And there you go. So once again, I did flip it to its side to make it look the match, and that's how you turn this sketch into a square. Now for sketch 15. This one's a little interesting because the shapes and the strips are going to be longer than the square itself, but I like how this one turned out. I'm going to start with my square mats. So right off the bat, I've already kind of broke away from the rectangle shape of a sketch. The little strips will fit perfectly, so I've made sure I measured it so that all these strips are going to be the full height. It's just the circle part that will not. Now, you don't need to use a white strip at that point, but I want everything flush, so that's why I added the white strip. You don't have to. You could have let the white behind it show, but I want it, like I said, I want it nice and flush just so that when I'm adding my elements, I don't have any gap in there. And then I add my circle, and I was going to put it down lengthwise, but then I decided that I'd rather have it portrait. I mean, it's a square, so it's really hard to say which one is landscape and which one's portrait, but I'm going to flip the sketch upright. There we go. Because I actually make it look, it kind of looks like a sun, like a sun setting. I know it's quite red, but I thought that was quite cute. And then you have the cat bringing the flowers, the other kitten holding the hearts. And I think that's such a cute little scene for this. And I love how that circle just pops over my background matte layers as if it was a sun setting in the scene. It really captures that essence. And of course, then the strips can be whatever you want. It could be grass, it could be different landmarks, it can be, or landscapes. Is use your imagination in this. And I am just going to cut apart these. When I fussy cut those the first time, it was pretty haphazard, so I'm just going to separate them, and then I will glue those down separately, somewhat following what they look like when they were attached. This one's really cute. I think this turned out very sweet. So there we go. And once again, I just flipped the sketch last second, and I have a perfectly cute square adaptation to this sketch. Okay, so now I'm going to just show you one by one each of these cards, and definitely feel free to pause it if you want to see how I had converted each one of these into the square versions. If you're not familiar with Kendra Card Challenge, this is a card making challenge where you take 6 sheets of 6x6 pattern paper to create 15 unique cards. You can play along each month, so you can submit 15 cards each month, and it does run for 3 months. So this will be January, February, and March. You download the free printable from Patreon page, which has the guide that you would need for cutting out all the paper and the sketches. Once you are done with your 15 cards, you will take one picture, and you would enter that in the InLinkz party, which you'll find links on the Kendra Card Challenge website, and they'll be broken into January, February, March. You just click the which one you need or you want to submit for. And then you want to make sure that you have joined or subscribed to the Cards by Kendra YouTube channel, because at the end of each month during the quarter, there are giveaways, and that's where they will announce who won. So you want to make sure that if you did win, after all that you are able to claim your prize. So I do hope that you enjoyed these cards. I hope that you partake. You can do this and it counts because you are still following the challenge. You're just making an adaptation to the size. It's totally fair game. And don't forget, this is a hub, so there are other design team members who are crafting along with Crafty Stamp Co. products, so definitely check them out as well. Until the next time, have a wonderful day, and I'll talk to you all later. Take care. Bye.